Hi guys, Seabro here, and today we're going to do a VOD review of a bronze Lucio / Ana player. Let's get straight into the video. Okay, so I had a dream last night that I was buying my dad Monopoly as a Christmas present, which he hates with a passion, by the way. And so I tried to persuade my family to go along with it, like fully commit to like, oh my god, you said you loved Monopoly. How can you not like that present? Well done, Seabro. That was a great present. Well done, nice one. I didn't look like a bad son. Anyway, I don't know why I needed to tell you that, but anyway, yeah, let's start the VOD review. So our bronze Lucio friend starts off with a really smelly rollout, which is minus 10 style points straight off the bat. Not a good start, not a good start. You can tell that he's not a smurf because he would be dead by now, and he's set up in a actually quite sensible position. The Roadhog and the Reaper have some big PP energy, and looking for some sick plays. The Reaper actually very nearly kills the enemy Roadhog, which is that would have been really big. Our Lucio friend is just wall riding randomly around the place, like now's a good time to practice your wall riding. Our team is already down 1 and you haven't fired a single shot. That's a big unlucky. Okay, so this is actually really sad that you didn't get punished for this, but you are just sitting here in the middle of the open trying to destroy this teleporter, which is ultra scary at the best of times. But if you look at the enemy team, they are all ultra scary. You got Roadhog to your left, you got Brig on the stairs, they've got a McCree that jumps through the teleporter. Pretty much everyone on their team is scary, right? And you're just standing in the middle, like asking to die. You can't kill teleporters quickly enough as Lucio for it to be warrant doing this. Just help the people on point. 1, you will get more ult charge, and you want to try and build up ultimate quickly enough that you get it before the enemy Sigma gets gravitic flux. But 2, also it will reduce the likelihood that the enemy team gets a pick on your team, which would be ultra bad because you're on defense and they have spawn advantage. You then see that Sigma has used Accretion, that's his rock ability, and therefore I think you think it's a good idea to dive him, which is okay because your Moira backs you up. He's a very scary character, definitely when he's got a health pack behind him and you're going to an enclosed area, but you can't get away with it because you've got another healer behind you. Sigma is an ultra scary character to be jumping as Lucio because he does a lot of damage. If his primary fire is a direct hit, then it does 60 damage per 1. That's 120 with both of his shots, so he can kill you very, very quickly, especially if you're really up close. Here you've got the added advantage that Moira is backing you up, but just be very, very careful when you're jumping Sigmas. You then overextend here because you don't know what the enemy team is doing. They could be coming to back up the Sigma. On a better team there will be, and you would just be feeding, especially when they've got the amount of CC that they have on their team. If Roadhog pops his head around the corner, if Brig pops his head around the corner, if McCree pops his head around the corner, like you are very dead. I would give up the chase a lot sooner here. But you get away with it, which is fine. Can I also just add that if you're trying to chase somebody down, or just fighting somebody like in general, don't just randomly boop off cooldown. Booping does do damage, which is great, but it also makes it harder for you to chase up the kill. You want to be chasing this Sigma down and killing them as quickly as possible, because he's about to run straight into a teleport, back to his team. You don't want to be helping him by pushing him, giving a little push back to safety. In general, like, don't use Lucio boop unless you have a reason for it. Don't just get in the habit of booping off cooldown. It's a really bad habit to get used to because it's a good ability and it needs to be used effectively. Here we amp for no reason. And we boop again for no reason. I think this is going to be a theme here. Ooh, you deserve to die here. This is really, really bad positioning. Like, again, I need to emphasize how scary everybody on the enemy team is. They have so much CC. They've got Roadhog hook. They've got Brig stun. McCree can do a lot of damage to you as well, even from over there. Like, you're asking to die. Against the best team, you would die. This is definitely not safe positioning. There's no need to be up in front of a big space like this, especially with a Roadhog nearby. Like, just keep your distance a little bit.
No one can hide from my sight.
I am loving this. Let's get you healed up.
I do generally really like this position here because you can see everything that's going on and you can get to anywhere pretty quickly, especially as Lucio. You do not need healing. Hi guys, I'm Lucio. Please shoot me from your spawn, that'd be great. Please, thank you. 10 out of 10 positioning.
Push on.
Okay, I do actually want to point out now that they have changed to Winston, which means that Winston might be trying to dive your Widowmaker at some point, which means that you suddenly need to start playing differently because it is your job to peel for the Widowmaker if that happens. But it depends whether Widowmaker sets up by. If they're far enough back, then the Winston won't be able to dive them, so that's fine. But if the Winston dives your team, then you should be looking for a boop to push her off the high ground. You then try to dive the Junkrat, I think, but then you turn around and go back to your team. But the time that you're taking to go and deal with this Junkrat that's standing there spamming, which is not a bad idea, by the way, and then go back again, your team has died, like the fight's lost, so you weren't doing anything in that fight. I think dealing with the Junkrat would have been a really, really good play. I think you can't trust your Widowmaker to deal with the Junk. I think that's a really, really valid play. I think it's unlucky that your team died there. I think that's not your fault. I think that they just decided to run inside the death room. I call that the death room because you shouldn't be going in there, like, you die. I think for a bronze support player, not firing at the enemy because you already have ult and you don't want to feed them ult charge is a really good play. I'm really happy to see that.
Oh, yeah.
Sigma is feeding. Okay, so you have got a lot of big dick energy. This is a risky play because the enemy could just turn around and kill you. Like if the Roadhog here just turns around, yoink, pew pew, you dead. And usually I would only do that if you can't just win by pressing Q. So generally generally if they are likely to win off ultimates or they have a significant advantage, then a high risk play is worth it. But because you have a significant advantage, not only in terms of ultimates, but in terms of spawn advantage, you can win the fight without doing a high risk play. And therefore, by diving this Moira, you could be feeding before the fight even starts. And if that happens, then they have a 5v6 and they're much more likely to win. Especially on 2CP, I wouldn't be taking these risks on defense. Having said that, like, it's really not the worst idea. Like, it can work. If you keep the Moira busy, even for like 10 seconds, then the enemy team's going to push through and they've only got brick hills. So I'm not against it, but I think you should be very careful about doing high risk plays on 2CP maps when you're on defense and you've got the spawn advantage and you've got the ultimate advantages as well. Okay, so what really lets you down here is actually, I won't say your aim, but it's not your aim. It's the fact that you're not trying to aim. So no matter how much aim trainers you try to use to improve your aim, it doesn't matter. If you're not trying to aim, if you're not trying to hit the target, and you're just kind of entering panic mode, then you're going to really struggle to hit these shots. There's a clip from, I think it was ML7, where he was talking about if you're going for these kind of like high risk plays and you're kind of entering this panic mode, then you need to breathe. You need to either steadily breathe or hold your breath. That would be fine as well. But you need to just calm down. I know that it's like stressful when you're like, you know, tapping your keyboards, trying to do 10,000 things at the same time. And Overwatch is a very stressful environment as it is. But you need to calm down. You need to just focus and you need to try and hit your shots. I hope that makes sense. It might not do. Let me know in the comments below if that doesn't make sense. It's unlucky you die here. I'm not gonna analyze that. Randomly paused us to check your DMs, I'm guessing. Another random boot. Oh, I do like this this beat. This is fine. Like, you do have a pick and you have spawn advantage, but I think that using your ultimate or over ulting is okay on 2CP. I much prefer that than seeing you not use your ultimate and just losing around. Why are you not shooting anything? I feel like when you're wall riding, you're like not able to shoot and wall ride at the same time. I'm not entirely sure why that is. I think you need to practice that. Chasing down this monkey is really good play. Far too many people just stand on point after they've won a fight. Not entirely sure why you want to 1v1 a Brig in her face, but sure. You're confident enough that 90 HP is going to be enough, so you don't go on hills. That is very cocky. That's unlucky. You kind of got to respect jungler spam, but that wouldn't have happened if you just healed earlier. It's the same on all heroes. Just checking how much health you have is kind of important. Random boop again. You hear and see your Widowmaker get dived, but you don't do anything about it. Like, it is your responsibility, right? If anybody on your team, whether that's a Ana or a Widowmaker or whatnot, if you can get back to them, not only can you get back to them like really quickly, but you can boot them away, which will in most cases save them. Yops! Rodog! I'm here! Ah! It's really strange to see, but I feel like in a lot of fights you don't actually do anything. You're not actively shooting anything, and you're not actively trying to look for big boops or anything. You kind of just you're kind of in spectator mode. You're just riding around the places and just looking at things. It's like you're like a ghost in like a haunted house, and you're just like following the people around, and then occasionally like knocking a book off the bookshelf or something just to remind them that you're there. That was a nice swoop. I like that. I like that. I like that a lot.
It's me.
Allow me to repair the damage.
Oh, yeah!
So here's actually a point I want to make about Temple of Anubis. There is this really nice bridge here, and if you boop somebody off of this bridge, then it's going to take them time to walk back up again. It's going to take them at least 3 to 5 seconds or something. And definitely when they're like hard committing with like a coalescence and they're 5 up, then that 3 to 5 seconds is going to be really, really important. So now would be the perfect time because they've just popped ults and they've got an ult advantage, and you need to do something. You need to make a big play, otherwise you're going to lose this. Again, they've just popped a ridiculous amount of ults and they have the advantage and they have a pick, and you are hiding and not doing anything. It's really, really, really important that you do more in fights. And honestly, at this stage, it doesn't matter much what you do or who you target. Like, it would help if you were targeting the same people as your DPS, for example. It would help if you were getting a lot of value out of your boobs. But at this stage, I think just doing stuff is kind of important. At the moment, you're kind of doing a lot of the time at the very, very important parts of fights, at the bits where the fights are won or lost, and you are just like yeeting off into nowhere.
No one can hide from my sight.
The fight very much looks lost here. I would put my ultimate because you want to try to stall this for as long as possible. I 100% think that it is a good idea to put your ultimate here because it doesn't look good. The fight does not look good. People are not close enough to point. Like, saving till the next fight, if there is one, is okay, but it's 2CP again. I would much prefer to use your ults rather than not use it.
This will restore you.
Speed boost. I'm just getting started.
I am ready to unleash your
It turns out that your DPS pop off, but you didn't know that was going to happen. So it's going to be the last fight territory. You should be popping your ultimate as soon as possible. There's no ultimate on the enemy team that you kind of need to keep your ultimate for. It's not like they've got a Graviton Surge or something that you need to counter. So the earlier that you use your ultimate, the better. The more likely you're going to get value out of it. I would 100% be using it as early as absolute possible in this fight. They're going to be rushed. They're going to be trying to touch the point. You don't want to die before you get your ultimate off. Let's see what you do.
30 seconds remaining. I will not be denied. My will made real.
15 seconds left until the fight is over, and I'll give you a clue, that is not the play. I would like to go back to what I think I alluded to earlier in this VOD, that on 2CP, when you're on defense, you've got a spawn advantage. Don't take risks. Don't run into a Roadhog or a Brig. Just play it safe. You're on 2CP, you're on defense.
Oh, time to accelerate. Oh, let's break it. Damn! Push it on.
Okay, so that is that round over. I think you play Ana in the next round, so I am going to talk about your Lucio play now. The main things that I think you need to work on is, one, first and foremost, be careful of enemy heroes. There are some people on the enemy team, especially those with CC, who are very scary. You should be pooing your pants if they are in front of you. You should not be just like out of your way going to try and dive them or jump in their face. Heroes like Brig or Roadhog or Sigma, they can kill you very easily if they actually notice you. If you are going to be shooting these, then going from behind is not a bad idea, going from above is not a bad idea, but just jumping in their face is not good, and you probably want your team to back you up. Second, I want to talk about something that's also very important, which is you need to be doing stuff in fights. Let me explain. There's kind of like the structure of a fight. You have like the pre-fight where you're kind of like poking, then you have the actual fight, and this is when if you have brawl compositions like Rhine compositions, the Rhines are swinging, you're kind of all bursting your cooldowns. If you're with a dive composition, it's when the dive heroes jump you, and then there's that little bit in the middle when you're like all pushing your cooldowns together. That bit of the fight, quite a few times in that round, and it was only one round, you were just running away. You weren't doing anything. And that's the really important bit where everyone's pumping their cooldowns in. That's when you need to be doing stuff. It means you need to be shooting people. It means you need to be trying to get people low, putting them under pressure, getting big values out of your boop. But quite frequently, you were just wall riding. Or you're wall riding around point, wall riding away, doing stuff that isn't helping your team. So quite often, it was a 5v6, which is really, really bad. If you go into a lot of rounds and you do that 2-3 times, you're going to be throwing a lot of games. And the last thing I want to talk about, the other big thing, is your boop usage. You're just booping off cooldown at the moment, and that's really bad, especially if you're with heroes that you are with in this round, like a Widowmaker, a Roadhog. They're going to be looking to get value out of picking enemies. And if you boop them, if you imagine for a second, like you're a Widowmaker, and you're on like the high ground behind somewhere nice and safe, and you're just like scoping in and trying to hit shots, and every like few seconds you just get a Lucio boop your enemy just like randomly in the air somewhere, it's going to really annoy you. And it's the same with like Roadhog Hook, right? You know where they are, and then randomly for no reason they fly around somewhere. Like it is really, really annoying for a lot of people. But two, if you're pushing them away, which is quite often when you're trying to do it for damage, and you boop the enemies away from you, then that's making it much harder for people to do cleave damage, or if they're backing up, makes it a lot easier for them to get away. It's just not a good idea to get used to. And the other reason it's a bad habit is boop is actually quite a useful ability. Like I was talking about earlier, where I was talking about booping the enemies off the bridge when they run in with Coalescence and Rally, I think it was. You can get a lot of value out of your boops. You should be using boops, for example, if their Winston dives you and you want to peel for a squishy behind, or if you want to disrupt the enemy and you want to split them apart, or if you want to combo with like a shatter or something, or you want to like claim a high ground and you want to push them off, or even if you want to get behind the enemy and push them into your team so that it's easier for them to inflict damage. They're all great uses of boop. What you don't want to be doing is getting in the habit of just booping off cooldown and using it as an extra damage ability. And I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that you aren't hitting very many shots and you see boop as just a extra damage dealing ability, and I think that needs a lot of practice. I think, to be fair, if your aim improves and you start hitting more shots, then I think you will become less reliant on boop. But it is a bad habit to get into, and I would stop that as soon as possible. Let's get into the next round where you play Ana. Oh, also, if anyone's got any questions about Lucio, then hit them in the comments below.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
I will get us home safe. This will help.
I wouldn't waste nade here because you've only got one shield, so if you need it while rotating, for example if the Sigma shield breaks and you're a little bit further behind, then it can be used to save you. It's got a relatively long cooldown and you're not really going to get much value out of nading them here. But thank goodness for the new change, which means that the nade now goes through, or will do once the experimental version's out, will go through heroes with full HP. I think everyone is really happy about that.
Go. I keep you here.
Now, I'm not going to blame you at all for this fight, because if we look at a different perspective, you can see that your Widowmaker and your Reaper were having a bit of a laugh, and I don't know how exactly they got away with getting a tick. It's a bit of a joke. It's definitely not your fault when you're playing a 4v6 that you are going to lose. Surprise, surprise. Good fight, let's go again.
I've come back from worse. Hello.
Power of destruction.
Get back in the fight.
This will heal you.
Healing enough.
I think you're just taunting their Hanzo here. That's a interesting move.
I have your back. Die healer. Taking the objective. Support requested. Watching your back.
So far, so good.
This is going to hurt. I'm on fire.
What is that ultimate? What is that?
Objective A captured.
Take your medicine.
Defense point. Objective B. This will restore you. Surrender to my will.
So as of right now, it's looking very good for you. They have wasted 2 ultimates for no reason. They are 1 down and you're currently coalescencing. I want to see how you're going to lose this fight. In general, when you are a healer, there are 2 healers, and generally you don't want your healers to have to use their abilities to heal themselves. So if you've got Moira, for example, in order to heal herself, she has to use a healing orb. Or for example, if you want to heal yourself, you have to use a nade. But by just keeping track of where the other person is, if they're taking damage, and using your ears, then you should normally be able to stop them from having to go through that trouble. Your Moira really should not be dying here. Like, you haven't actually got into the fight yet. That is very sad. The enemy hands obviously pops off, but that fight was lost because you let your Moira die. That is very unfortunate.
I wasn't cut out for retirement. My ultimate is ready. Get back in the fight. You're going to be okay.
Nice sleep.
No one can hide from my sight. I almost feel something.
I have your back. This is going to hurt.
Quiz question, where should Ana be playing? At the front of the team, the middle of the team, or the back of the team? Hashtag main tank Ana.
You look tired.
My will.
You're powered up. Get in there. Get in.
So for those of you who didn't spot why that fight was won, let's look at the Widow's perspective.
No one can hide from my sight. I almost feel something.
Bronze Widow, by the way. Okay, so looking at your Ana gameplay, there wasn't actually that much to look at. It didn't last very long. So there weren't many examples of errors that you made. Having said that, I think keeping an eye on your other healer is important. I think you waste Biotic Grenade when you don't need it. And it was absolutely unforgivable at the end when you were main tanking Ana. And that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you did enjoy, then please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more Overwatch educational content. Also, if you're on mobile, hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of my uploads. Again, thank you everybody who supports my channel. It means a lot to me. And I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.